what's clear is that Netanyahu is trying to draw the U.S. into a war with Iran. If such a war occurs, it would be devastating, first to Israel, by the way, but possibly escalating to world war. Iran has Russia as an ally. It would open a second front of the U.S. war with Russia, in addition to Ukraine. Netanyahu has been trying for this for 30 years. He has been clear about it, that the United States should go to war with Iran for Israel's sake. The United States has done just about everything that Netanyahu has asked over the last 30 years. I think history will record that Netanyahu has been one of the most destructive people in modern history, one of the most reckless, one of the most shameless and cynical, one of the most murderous. And I think history will record that the United States has done his bidding. It is becoming more and more clear as more and more analysts look back on the events of the last 24 years that the war in Iraq was at Netanyahu's bidding. The war in Syria, which unfortunately most Americans don't understand, but was a CIA operation to overthrow the Syrian government, was at Netanyahu's bidding. The U.S. has basically followed Netanyahu's lead for these 30 years. Netanyahu's idea, from his perspective, is that to make Israel safe, since Israel faces threats from Hamas or Hezbollah or others, that the only way to make Israel safe is not defeating those particular belligerent forces, but defeating the countries that back those forces. So Netanyahu's idea is that he, by manipulating the United States, will make the Middle East safe for Israel. This is such a wild and crazy and reckless idea that you couldn't believe that anyone would take it seriously, except the United States has. We have gone to war repeatedly for no reason of American security, but for reason of Netanyahu's interpretation of Israel's security. This is unbelievable. And I think history will find this also a shocking loss of American foreign policy autonomy. Why did we go to war with Iraq? Why did we go to war with Syria? Why did Obama decide to overthrow Assad and so forth? These were decisions that not only did not bolster American security, they gravely weakened American security. They isolated America. They ran up trillions of dollars of debt. And Netanyahu, I think we will find more and more, has been at the center of all of this. His grand prize has been Iran. Now he has a president who is at least politically senescent, if not physically so, we don't know. But he thinks that this is his moment of maximum leverage, and he personally seems determined to start a full-fledged war with Iran. It's pretty clear that the United States counterparts are trying to avoid that, but in the typically weak and even pathetic way. Please don't do that. We don't want you to do that, and so forth. And Netanyahu knows before the election, even after the election, Biden is unlikely to take any serious opposition. So this is a dramatic moment. I'm just coming back from a short visit in the Middle East, and I heard from very, very, very senior people. So senior, I will not name them, but very senior people who thought that the next days could be decisive for the world, that Netanyahu is out of control, and they wondered whether the United States would attempt to control him. I think there's an assumption that Netanyahu has that may well be wrong. And the assumption is that if the United States joins this war that he wants, that Iran will be defeated. And I think that this is a rather wild assumption, and based on no reliable evidence that I know of. What I think we have learned in recent weeks, and again, I'm not your top military analyst. You've got many of them, but what I am told and what I believe we have learned is that Iran has very, very considerable ballistic missile capabilities, including hypersonic missiles that cannot be taken down by anti-missile defenses. Iran has the potential to strike at core population centers, to strike at strategic infrastructure. This is my bet, based on what I'm reading and hearing, what I'm hearing in discussions. This is, if that's true, and I think there's a reasonable chance of it because many knowledgeable people make this assertion, Israel is getting itself into something that is horrifying, actually. I think that Netanyahu probably can get his cabinet to do what he wants. The public is absolutely terrified right now, but terrified of Iran, terrified of everything, and in such a psychological state, a leader can lead a country to disaster. It's one of the most common things in history, in fact. So my guess is that Netanyahu can get his way inside Israel. The one that can stop it and the one that should stop it, of course, is the United States. Netanyahu is not talking about Israel going to war with Iran. He's talking about the United States going to war with Iran. That's a different thing. This is completely against American interests, against American security interests. It's again a question of whether the United States military is basically at the behest of what I think is a mad Israeli leader, utterly reckless. And by the way, when you look at Netanyahu's campaign for 30 years, this man's been wrong about everything. This man has said how going into Iraq, he told the American people in 2002, he wrote about it repeatedly, going into Iraq will create security for the United States and for the region. It will transform the region. These regime changes that he's wanted, the war with Syria, everything Netanyahu has said has been wrong. So this is not a reliable counterpart. This is not someone we should trust. This is someone who has no business being where he is, period. And for the United States to follow him would be almost inexplicable, except for the extraordinary weakness of this administration. But I would say, past administrations have made complete disasters. They followed him into Iraq. They followed his plan of regime change operations throughout the Middle East. He got us into this to a very large extent. You could say, and I did say 20 years ago when the Iraq War was being debated, that it was absolutely wrong, reckless, based on lies, that it would fail. When the Syrian operation by Obama and Hillary Clinton was hatched in 2011, I said that it would be a disaster. But you could say somebody might have learned something along the way. why are we dealing with this guy at all? Why are we letting him destroy Gaza, kill tens of thousands, commit acts of genocide, invade Lebanon, and now threaten to provoke a full war that he desires with Iran? Why are we letting him do this at all? Where is American foreign policy? By the way, Iran has said repeatedly, I was in the room with the new Iranian president, where he said repeatedly, not only do they not threaten the United States, they are absolutely, completely desirous of reopening political relations, diplomatic relations, returning to the treaty of the JCPOA, the treaty with Iran that Obama had negotiated and then Trump broke and then Biden never restored. So the Iranians do not want war. They've been on a diplomatic tour of recent days saying that to everybody around the world. So it's exactly the opposite. Netanyahu wants war. Iran does not want war. And where is the United States in this? Who runs our country? This is what we're watching right now. We're hoping that the United States is run by Americans in the interests of the United States, not run by Israelis in the interests of, it's not even in the interests of Israel, but in the interests of Israel's absolutely failed prime minister. And it's not unique to Israel, but when a country is under attack, generally the public response is to escalate. Well, now we understand we have to invade deeper. It's worth mentioning, of course, as you know, and I think as people listening know, that Israel has been mass murdering people in the last couple of days in Gaza, in bombing throughout Lebanon, including villages in North Lebanon, including Beirut, including places closer to the border with Israel in southern Lebanon. The death toll is absolutely staggering. Israel is killing people in hospitals, people waiting for help. It's indiscriminate murder right now. It is, and this is part of the reestablishing deterrence to show you'll kill anyone. This is how they think. But this is mass murder taking place. Hezbollah obviously has the capacity to strike at Israel and kill a lot of people. It's got tens of thousands of rockets and missiles yet to be fired. Netanyahu's basic calculation is not only cruel, it's just completely wrong from Israel's own security point of view. He's pulling Israel closer and closer to the brink of destruction. And the fact is, Israel does not have military dominance in the region as he thinks it does. 30 years ago, it was different. Iran has tremendous military capacity. It hasn't unleashed it. It doesn't want to unleash it, but it's there. And it will be unleashed if Iran continues to get hit. And Iran has allies as well. And Russia is an important ally, and Iran is going to be able to call on its allies. So Netanyahu is not only a murderer, which he is, he's not only an obsessive, which he is, because he's been obsessed with regime change. He's not only profoundly cynical and all the rest, one could say, he's just wrong. He's been wrong for 30 years. Israel is less safe today than it has ever been since its founding. That's the real point. It's a tragedy, and he's making it less safe by the hour. It is as if Israel wants to say, we will do anything we want, violate any law, kill anyone we want, they've declared the Secretary General of the United Nations persona non grata. Israel's out to show it is a rogue state that no one can touch. But it's a profoundly reckless, not just immoral and against the law and illegal. Israel is going, I can't even use the words I would normally use. It is going to face a military onslaught, is what I'm talking about. It thinks it's the big bully that can just kick everyone around. A lot of Israelis are going to be killed. A lot of Israelis are going to be killed if Netanyahu continues in this way, if the Israeli government continues in this way. You know, the idea that, well, we got the U.S. military in our hip pocket, tell that to the Ukrainians also, or tell the Israelis a little bit about the Ukrainians who had the U.S. military in their hip pocket and 600,000 Ukrainians are dead. So what are they thinking? They don't, again, I'm not a military analyst, but I can watch with my own eyes. I can listen to what the analysts are saying. Israel does not have military dominance, nor will the United States in this context. Yes, a lot of people can be killed on both sides. This can escalate to World War III, but the idea that you attack Iran and it's going to back down, I don't think so. If you attack Iran, Iran is going to is absolutely going to escalate, and Israel is going to be very disappointed with what happens. This system is not some magical system that is going to protect Israel from the Iranian missiles. It can protect Israel from a few. It's one system with a few anti-missile with capacity to take down missiles. We know that Iran has tens of thousands, and we know that it has hypersonic missiles, which cannot be taken down by this system. What is this? This is an act of PR. I doubt that it is an act of military significance. But yes, there will be American soldiers on the ground who can be killed as well. But the whole idea of this is so completely reckless and deliberate, which is what is astounding to this. This is a long-standing campaign. You know, we've talked about it briefly earlier, but I think the evidence is very strong that the plan already back in 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, was that Iran was going to follow soon after. But the Iraq war turned out to be such an incredible debacle when the insurgency started that the U.S. never quite got on to Netanyahu's next target. So this is an effort that goes back a long time. During this period, by the way, Iran has gotten stronger and stronger militarily, technologically, in its capacity to absolutely respond to Israel. The assumption in Ukraine and the assumption here and the assumption as the United States talks about heading for war in China is a kind of invincibility, which is a profound mistake. We are facing formidable armies. We are facing formidable military potential. We should be sitting at the negotiating table to stop the mass slaughter of people on both sides. That's what's coming if we continue the direction we're going. And the idea that, well, all we have to do is the cavalry has to ride in, we're way past those days. I mean even our modern super technical solutions. We are matched right now. We have to understand World War III is not going to treat anyone on this planet kindly.